Another Holmes 2Cool, or more like barely cools, has come into my possession. This is an example of what would have been a pretty reasonable product ruined by marketing. So the way these work is there's a pretty aerodynamic 5-blade prop in the back, and then in the front there's a run-of-the-mill cheesy like 6-inch blade in the front. The blades sit on the same shaft, they run at the same speed, and they more or less cancel each other out. This is a terrible product, and I don't know how this passes the R&D phase. Anybody with any clue about aerodynamics should never have allowed this to be produced this way. Now you can build dual prop fans, and look at a jet engine for example, but the blades have to be designed a certain way, and this is not even remotely close. This is a complete disaster. And the unfortunate part is if you took that stupid small blade off, it's actually a pretty good fan. The problem is if you put this on the shelf next to another one without the small blade and just call it the 1Cool or a regular fan, this one's going to sell more because it's flashy and has a gimmick name to it and all this stuff. And so that's why it was made. I used to think that Holmes fans were pretty good quality, but the more I work with different brands and more Holmes models and so forth, I kind of changed that opinion. This one is okay. I think the motor is a fairly decent quality and the guard's not super flimsy, but the plastic is not holding up very well. You can see the base is yellow. Just listen to it. It's become so brittle. You can see certain parts of this have also become very yellowed and brittle. Look at that neck. It's yellowed through. The date code on the UL sticker is 2006. So that's one of the reasons why I kind of feel like Holmes was kind of okay, because things were getting very cheap by 2006. And for what it's worth, this still used a fairly respectable motor. Another aerodynamics disaster is this rear guard. There is so many slats here. This looks like it's coming from Canada now, and it's too dense, right? It's blocking a lot of air and creating a lot of noise. So this has the switch on the back. My preference, just for ease of operation, will be the switch on the front. Down at the bottom. This is a cost-saving measure because Holmes or whoever the heck makes this, Kaz or whatever it is, gets to save a couple feet of wire by not running it down to the switch. This knob is okay. It's textured on the side so you can grab it. It turns fairly easily. You can actually hear it clicking into place, which is nice. This is easy to use. So it's not a bad control set. It's just not my personal preference. We have this handle here, which it's not the best. There should have been a lip here to hold your hand in there, but it works. This is getting towards the fused plug era, but no fused plug on this one. Just polarized. So we'll go ahead and test this out, and then if it works properly, I think I'll go ahead and pull that first blade off and we'll do another test, just so we can get a comparison. I think that something's a little bit bent or messed up here. The blade's not in the center of the guard, so we'll check that as well. Let me take it off. So here we go. We're testing at 119.9 the volts. Now it's going up to 120 the volts right on the nose. So this is rated for, it's a model HAOF613. It's rated for 0.8 amps. Okay, I take back, if it actually draws 0.8 amps, I take back my statement about it being a halfway decent motor. because that is a ridiculous amount of power for a little 12-inch oscillating fan to consume. And we're going to have to take a quick break because there's a nasty old bug on the floor. I need to get rid of that. Okay, I canceled it out. Now we can proceed. I hate bugs. Ugh, when they get in the house, I just, gross to me. Alright, we're going to start with the oscillation off. And we'll begin on low. I don't think it's going to draw 0.8 amps. Alright, there it goes, running. So it's pretty loud. And where is the airflow tester? Here it is. It just sounds like super restricted. And the airflow coming out is not bad right up against it. You can actually feel, like right here where the second blade stops, is decent flow. And then in the middle there's hardly any flow. Of course, because this smaller blade is meant to be running at way more RPMs than a standard 12-inch blade is going to run at. So all it does is block the air. It doesn't actually move any air in this case. The problem with this is that the airflow, actually, this is working better than I remember. It's still abysmal, but it's not totally worthless like I thought it was. I'm all the way across the room now, and I don't really feel anything. You can kind of tell the air is just ever so slightly moving. It's not very powerful at all. But I will admit it's actually working better than I recall. Power information is 0.29 the amps, 34 the watts, with a power factor of 0.98. As far as the balance is concerned, it's actually pretty good. The medium. So we're getting a lot more noise now. And just not a lot of airflow. It is moving more air than I remembered it, but I think this is one of the least powerful 12-inch oscillating fans I've ever tested, even in comparison to ones made today. The performance on this is just really abysmal. The power information is 0.3 amps, 37 the watts, with a power factor of 1. I don't think this is going to go up to 0.8 amps. It didn't. It went up to 0.42 amps, 46 the watts, with a power factor of 0.91. And it's the same thing. You can feel the air moving outside pretty strong, this much here, but then the inside is super weak. Yeah, the balance is surprisingly decent. So that kind of supports my theory of it being a better quality product. But yeah, the airflow is just super disappointing. This feels like the low on a halfway decent oscillating fan, 12 inches. See, there's hardly any air coming out of the center here. But then if you take this to the edge, you can see it's got a lot more air going. Now that is normal, but it's an extremity on this one. You can feel the difference as you move to the outside. Let's see if I go across the room here. Not really. It's just a marginal increase over low, and I can barely feel it. So it works better than I remembered, but the performance is overall absolutely abysmal. And it's just an aerodynamic disaster. Let's see if the oscillation works. it does. It's also very loud, and I think all the noise is coming from that small blade, or most of the noise in there is. So now I'm going to take that small blade off, and we're going to run it with just the larger blade, and the power draw will likely go down a little bit, not by much, and the airflow should increase substantially, and the noise should go down substantially. That's cool. I don't think that we're going to be able to run it with just the small blade. Let's see. Oh, actually, yes, we will be able to, I think. Alright, so with just the small blade, it actually moves a decent amount of air. I almost want to say it's more than it was before. At least now the air is moving far away from the fan. I can feel more air from across the room than I was feeling before. This is probably equivalent to maybe a little less than what you could expect out of one of those like Honeywell turbo fans. It feels strong right up close, but it dissipates pretty quickly. So it's still pretty poor. Oh wow, it's still drawing 0.4 amps though. 41 watts, power factor of 0.4. Alright, so now let's try just this blade. And this, it might jump forward, I'm not sure. Let's see. Nope. This is powerful. Well, of course the guard's not on, so that's something to consider as well. Let's do this. I'm going to just grab this dust off of the tips of the blades, because that will impact the performance considerably, and then I'll put the guard back on and we'll see. Notice how the dust pattern is totally different, or it was, on the blade here, on the inside as opposed to the outside. Put that on there like that. I think I'm just going to run it like this normally. I'll get some washers to fill that in. Now I actually think that this is a halfway decent product configured like this. It moves way more air. I think it already moves more air now like this than it did on high with the second blade there. If I go across the room, I've got a significant breeze. It moves more air like this than it did on high with both blades. The power draw is 0.26 amps, 31 watts with a power factor of 1. The medium. Power draw 0.3 amps, 36 watts with a power factor of 0.99. The high 0.42 amps, 45 watts, power factor 0.89. Whoa. Yeah, something's a little bit bent here. I gotta figure that out. I'm gonna tilt this down just a hair. I'm gonna go across the room. But first off, let me get this. This is actually pretty powerful now. Look at that. Huge increase in performance. And there's air everywhere now, not just on the outside. It's got kind of an annoying sound that it didn't have before, but at least now it's moving in. If I go across the room, oh yeah, strong breeze over here. So this is actually working pretty good now. Unbelievable. It moves way more air like this, just by taking this off. Not sure it's any quieter though. I thought it would end up being quieter, but it's not. The balance is pretty reasonable. It's not perfect, but it's within a satisfactory margin of error. This is how this should have been. Should have just been a 1Cool. Would have been a much better product. That sounded awful.